Hello, I'm Joan Mansson of Mansson Fine Art, and thank you for joining me in this time-lapse demonstration of a new technique that I'm developing, I think. I've drawn an image of a flower bud. I think it was a hydrangea. I don't remember. I took it 20 years ago. Anyway, I drew the image with an olive green pastel pencil, and it was my intention that I would do the leaves in shades of gray and the bud in color. But I left a tiniest bit of yellow on the white pastel, and it ended up blending into the leaf. Well, rather than worrying about taking it out, I decided I'd leave it there and start building from it. So I'm using the sponge triangular applicator, just dipping the very tip and edge into the white, and right now I'm doing a base layer of white. I'm creating the highlighted areas. I'm giving indications of where the stems within the leaves are, the veins within the leaves are, hitting the areas that are highlighted by light. And I'm not concerned with super realism. I was completely amazed that it came out as well as it did, and this was completely off the top of my head. My intention had been to complete the bud itself with pastel pencils. I had them all set aside. I was ready to go. As you can see, they're on the left side of the screen. But once I got started with this, I just couldn't stop. I love it when inspiration strikes. Now, I have used just the sponge applicator or a limited number of other applicators in doing some other black and white pieces, but this is the first time I've actually done one with color and with more detail. I'm using just the tiny edge to create light edges on the stems of the plant. And at this point, I'm still thinking the leaves and the stems are going to be gray. Just using that edge. And I don't know if you've used the triangular sponge applicator, but as you're applying it and you lay it down and pull it to the side, it makes these very beautiful, soft impressions. And I've added just a little bit, and I'm going to start with green. I've decided at this point I'm going to use the green. So I have the chromium oxide green shade, color, and tint, and I'm using the edge to apply in a left to right sweep the darker leaves on the bud and the stem itself. I'm definitely going to have to do this again. I'm just not sure what my subject is going to be next time. And I'm using the hue and the tint to create the outer leaves. The flower itself is, I keep wanting to say it's an hydrangea, but I know that's not right, is a salmon color. I'm just going back and forth with the edge of that brush, or that sponge. I keep calling the sponges brushes. Please forgive me. When I say brush, I mean sponge. Okay. Just drawing with the edge, tapping in, setting it down, and pulling it to me. Now moving back into the other leaves, and I'm adding a little bit of green as I go with the leaves because I've decided those leaves are not going to be gray. Those leaves are going to be green. And right now, this sort of looks like Art Deco to me. And of course, by the time I'm done, it's really more impressionistic. But forgetting about labels and possible schools, I just really like the way it came out, and I'm excited about continuing with this method. One of the things that I really like about this method is that I can blend so easily onto that sponge. Um, as I said, the flower itself is salmon, so I'm mixing yellow ochre, tint, and red tint to create a soft salmon color. As I was saying, it's very easy to blend using this sponge so that I can blend in the tins and then add it to the paper and then come back with darker or lighter shades and blend those in as well. Other things I like about this is that I have arthritis and I hold the sponge so lightly that it really doesn't impact my hand. The reason that I've moved back to pastels and specifically PanPastels is because it's very tiring for me to paint or to draw with or to paint with watercolors or acrylics or to work with colored pencils. I do still draw from time to time. I enjoy it, but it takes me days to do a drawing now, where it was a matter of 4 or 5 hours. Now, so the PanPastels work so quickly. And then, of course, with the PanPastels, I also use the Derwent colored pencils. And the colored pencils move so much more quickly. The pastel pencils work so much more quickly than colored pencils do. There are lots of pastel pencils to choose from out there. I happen to like the Derwent pencils the best. I've tried several of the others. In fact, I own a small set of the Faber-Castell Pitt pencils, and I have a small set of their Faber-Castell Pitt pastel sticks. But I like the softness of the Derwents. And that softness works, I think, best when I'm adding it to pastels. Now I'm going to use the darker red mixed with the yellow ochre tint. And I'm creating a deeper salmon color. As you can see, the only time I wipe on that paper is to get the excess off. I'm not even blending on the paper. I'm just blending in the tins. Adding a little bit of the yellow ochre tint to the leaves behind the blossom. I want that one leaf to come a little bit more forward from the others, or ahead of or in front of the other leaves. I find it difficult to believe that I'm the only person who has discovered that you can do an entire piece using this triangular sponge. I haven't seen any other videos because I checked after I did this piece, but I'm sure somebody out there has tried it. And I am, as I said, going to try some more, and I will share those projects with you if I deem them to be successful. There's no point in you wasting your time looking at something that's a flop. I do like the way this lays down, though. And when you're pressing in lightly to add the highlights, you're creating the shadow. I'm working on a charcoal gray pastel matte paper. It's a 5 by 7.5, I believe. Again, just tapping that edge, and then I tap and pull gently from the edge ever so slightly to create highlights and the idea of roundness. And my highlights may very well be in completely the wrong places. This is a photo I took a long time ago. I desaturated. I worked on it on Photoshop. And as I said, it was probably 15 or 20 years ago. What I was doing with that photo at the time was something that was popular at the time, but this is really great. Coming to a close here, just about finished. And we're done. This is my completed image, and I thank you for watching with me. I hope if you have the opportunity, you'll give this a try.